Well, we are so honored and appreciate being here with our favorite community, NIGP. And today we're going to go down a path of actually very practical case studies and work, utilizing technology and innovative thinking to propel a really fantastic vision that the City of Brownsville has embarked on. And we're going to talk about how they're doing that, how they're utilizing different modalities to actually build linkages within their local supplier base, as well as utilizing AI and technology to drive public service delivery, and all with safeguards, with ethical safeguards. I know in some of the forum there has been those voices, which is that AI is here, and there is fear and skepticism and uncertainty. I am a techno optimist, so I want to preface that with the place where I'm coming from, but we do have a strong sense that technology can serve good with the right guardrails, with the right governance structure, and with the right empowerment. And so we're excited to present to you some of the work that Damien Espinosa has been doing as the Director of Procurement at the City of Brownsville, his leadership in that regard, and how he's instituted some of the right protections to enable some of that work. And by way of introduction, I am co-founder and CEO of Civic Marketplace. We are a for-purpose, for-profit organization. We enable procurement professionals utilizing technology on a number of fronts, including what we're going to be presenting today, the First Quote program, as well as cooperative purchasing, and also informal solicitation workflows powered by agentic AI. One of the problems, and before I give the floor to Damien, that we've heard from procurement professionals across the nation and actually globally, is that there is still procurement and purchasing at times is very manual. It takes a lot of time to actually gather quotes, to figure out the right even solicitation framework, the right template, etc. That navigation is a time sink, especially when departments are under-resourced. Vendor discovery is also very fragmented. It's challenging to find the greatest, latest innovation that's been validated, that it has already been tried and tested. And so procurement pathways are at times unclear, and especially in turbulent times where sometimes there are supply chain issues. And decisions at times are relying much more on process rather than data and outcomes. And so that results in at times reactivity, where procurement can actually be a strategic enabler. It can be a driver for an entity to even not just drive the priorities of the entity, but it could also actually, as Damien's going to talk about, potentially be a revenue stream. And we'll also talk about the potential of missed savings, and then instead grabbing those opportunities instead. And for us, the City of Brownsville has embarked on this amazing journey, although it's still early in its trajectory, but we see already the semblances of success. And partly we see a culture of innovation that Damien has been able to lead the team through. We see interdepartmental coalitions that Damien and the team with city management have been able to bring together. And that is a key to success on taking on not any digital project, but actually AI transformation. And what Damien and the team have also instituted are guardrails. He's combined conversations with IT and stakeholders and really brought them together to actually articulate safeguards, how to use the prompt, what checks and balances before they actually use an evaluation, and also the rigor that they require from outside contractors. And we're going to touch on that. And I'm also excited for us to touch on the City of Brownsville becoming a lead entity. And Damien's going to speak about that, because for us, that's a model for faster procurement, more transparent decision-making, and also economic growth. And how we think about the model that the city is embarking on is a three-legged stool. And Damien will speak about this shortly, but in terms of cooperative purchasing, how they are utilizing cooperative purchasing to have savings, but still reserving their right, and not just right, but reserving the times that they do need to put together those RFPs for those right solicitations. But when they do those solicitations, they are enabling that solicitation to be piggybackable and piggybackable across their region. So sister cities can actually utilize the work that they've done, and the city can be rewarded for that. So Brownsville has been embarking on becoming that lead entity and revenue generator for the city. Damien, I'm going to hand over to you now, and then we can talk about some of those guardrails, if that's okay, to just give a brief of some of the work that you're excited about.
Appreciate it. I mean, you talked about it. You hit the a nail on the head right there. We've been talking about innovation for quite some time now, and I've always gone to a couple of those conferences where we discuss like, hey, here's what AI is doing, with other departments, and I was very curious to see how I could implement that with my procurement department in general, and what we started doing was basically, to your point, doing AI with guardrails. So I had internal discussions with our IT department and said, hey, I want to start implementing our AI tool or AI tools internally and see how we could, fast track some of those analysis that we get. And we started doing a couple of those with departments. Like I said, it's still an action plan. We're still going through all the bits and pieces that comes with implementing this, but we have basically landed on doing safe prompts for our evaluators, for example, to say, hey, we want to do checks and balances first, make sure that there's a sanity check on the information that you're uploading, right? Because although right now AI is pretty good, it's not excellent, it's not perfect. So there is a responsibility for you to proofread everything that is being given to you, right? I think that that's the key, that you read and check everything that is being thrown your way. Because if you do that, it might take, you some time to actually read it, go through it, but it's going to be worth the time. And once you go through it the right way, you're going to find the advantages. And like I said, we started by doing some checks and balances with some of those proposals or evaluations that come our way. And we then started doing some safe prompts for evaluators to do, basically trying to make sure that everybody inputted the same information, right? And let me be clear on this. This is not a substitute of the evaluation. This is not hey, get the AI, upload everything, and they're going to evaluate for you. No, this is just another tool for our evaluators to hopefully accelerate some of that time that takes to look at some of those proposals that come in, right? And I know that there's already AI being implemented on the e-procurement side of things, on those platforms where they help you draft the scope of work, right? But similar to how you got to be careful when you're drafting that scope of work, it's going to depend on what you feed it, right? So what information you give it, and that's going to be the end result. So we're trying to treat it the same way with the evaluation. What information are you feeding it so that you can ensure that you get accurate information for you to, come up with your own evaluation? Again, I don't want to say that this is going to be a substitute. This is just another tool for them to have and be able to, have a very agnostic and realistic information for them to be able to gather. And we have been looking at that. We have been going through it, and who knows? It might be that right now we're going through some, if you want to call it, pilot testing with departments, but later on it could be the norm across the board where we use it, right? I think that there's still obvious legal and compliance questions that we need to make sure that you confirm within your city, right? But at least for now, we feel that this is the right step, and it's going to be the next step in procurement departments. I can already foresee in a couple of years this being the norm. So we got to start preparing for that, in my opinion.
Excellent. And then, Damien, switching gear to lead agency, can you speak to the program, like what excites you about the city now being that lead entity, and how that could be useful to entities across the nation and the region?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I think this solution came into fruition based on a challenge that our leadership gave us a year or so ago. They basically, our leadership challenged us to come up with ideas or solutions to generate revenue for the city. At least specifically for us here in Texas, there's been a lot of recent changes that they've done that have constrained or have reduced the way that we could do business, right? And we like I said, we were challenged to come up with ideas to generate revenue. One of the ideas that I started to research and came up with was basically becoming a lead agency for cooperative contract, right? And perhaps start generating the revenue off of those contracts. So the goal is to increase the local vendors that we hopefully get through those contracts, through those RFPs, those formal procurements, and be able to get them an opportunity to have our sister cities around the area be able to piggyback off that contract. By that, giving more opportunity for the local vendors to do more business with them, right? And then secondly, by doing that, that would also generate some revenue for us as the city. And I think that I don't want to say that that's going to be innovative in any way, but the innovation portion of things to me comes from being able to have a quick access to this piggybackable or interlocal agreements. I think that many of us have found that sometimes you're looking for those piggybackable contracts. Every city has different platforms, right? Every city has different contract management tools. Some of them are able to get easily being find online, and then some of them are not. So it's always, it could be a little bit of a struggle to find those contracts. So by doing this partnership with Civic Marketplace, our goal is be able to, anybody throughout the nation be able to find our contracts through there and be able to access them fairly easily, right? So I think that that's also where the innovative portion of things come from. And now I don't know if we want to wait for questions and answers at the end, but I saw that in the chat. There's already a couple questions there.
Awesome. Well, I think we can go into questions in just a few minutes, if that's okay. We'll leave at least 10 minutes to have an engaging discussion we're excited about. We wanted to just touch on the First Quote program.
Yes.
Damien, do you want to talk about the First Quote program? I will do a quick demo of the platform to show folks where that's going, and then we can for sure have an engaging conversation and open it up to interactive discussion.
Absolutely, yeah. So the First Quote program was something that came into fruition after we had discussions about the lead agency contract, right, that we established with Civic Marketplace. I think that one of the other concerns or comments, feedback that we had internally from our departments has always been, hey, we want to have this centralized way of looking for vendors, right, at the city. And there's different tools that you could utilize, but I hadn't identified the right one until right now that we looked at the First Quote program, where we're basically going to be able to come up with a platform, a website, so that our internal departments can have a login credential, log in, and have access to all the suppliers that are here around the region and be able to actually request quotes from them. And this is obviously going to centralize how everybody looks for vendors, right? Is, right now, depending on who you are, you can always fall back on the traditional Google search, see who's out there, email, see who's out there. But we want to combine that experience for them, be able to accelerate that procurement of things, and in turn also help us with the compliance aspect of things. There's been a lot of changes that have been happening with DEI or SBE as far as government goes. So we want to make sure that we had a platform that could help us stay compliant with all those changes that are happening, and that's how we envision the First Quote program being able to obtain quotes from what we determine are SBE vendors. That way we stay compliant with everything that in case we do get an audit, and then we also ensure that we increase the engagement with our local suppliers. Sometimes the struggle that we encounter is that local suppliers, we don't even know who's out there, right? You can also look at them, but search them, but you don't truly see what they offer. And this is going to be an opportunity for them to be able to showcase what are the services, what do they offer, and hopefully get our departments to have an easier time to engage with them.
Wonderful. Awesome. I'm just going to do a quick demo of the platforms, and then we can open it up to Q&A. And again, this is with a caveat that here, this is about education or advocacy, but of course we see ourselves as unique. This is Civic Marketplace, where there's both smart search by AI and also by categories. So if I go to Public Works, I can view a contract. This is all being co-designed with procurement professionals and also all subject to categorization through the NIGP code. Contract documentation that has been uploaded using AI that's outcome-based. It's not just spec heavy, but clear service categories, also the outcomes in terms of challenges, like what will this contract drive in terms of outcomes? And then you're able to view the documentation and ask that AI any questions. I'm going to go to the demo version to just quickly show you a quick quote system where you're able to ping suppliers based on NIGP code. So let's say we need electrical equipment and suppliers. You put in the brand, the need, you put in the deadline, you put in any attachments, you click next, and that's really all it takes. The system would then ping those suppliers. You're able to get an auditable smart summary downloadable by XLS, analysis of those quotes in terms of cost evaluation, but also all the backup information that you can share with those end users to have auditability to ensure compliance. What we're really excited about is the future of agentic AI. So let's say I need to build a 10-kilometer road in the city of Brownsville. AI will help me figure out the procurement pathways that are compliant to my entity. There is an agent that rather than do the work, it will help me actually do the work for me. So would you like me to create a quick quote? I can say yes. The agent's analyzing that content, what you need to procure. I could say that 10-kilometer road, it's a little bit ambiguous, but it will help me across that spectrum. Setting the deadline helps me identify the NIGP categories that match my initial request. Once you confirm them, the agent starts doing the work in terms of collecting the data from the suppliers, bringing it back to you, summarizing that information, and saving time from procurement professionals to actually focus on what decisions should be made rather than taking time figuring out which vendors are the best ones. First question from S. Rothwell, how are you using the AI scoring results?
What you saw there, as far as like the I'm assuming like he's talking about the screenshot with the vendors and the results there. We are using it more as I would say guidance. It's not set in stone. It's not going to be like, hey, this AI is giving you 10 points. That's it. No, it's more like what they're recommending. So you just get an idea of what the AI is recommending to you based on the information. So we're not necessarily using those scoring results as more, like I said, more for guidance in itself.
Of course. And then, Damien, this may be a second one for you as well, which is, and I know you worked with IT on the prompts to ensure that you quality assured them and also educated some of the contractors that were supporting your work. And here the question is from Courtney Waller. Can you provide any examples of a safe prompt that was used in the system?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the prompt itself, what we need to keep in mind is that it goes back to, and it's very tied to the proposal itself, right? So although there's probably a couple of neutral ones that you can come up with, I would say the first one out of my top of my head would be summarize, for example, key points of the proposal, what is their experience, qualifications, and then you then go into like the very specific ones. For example, it could be give me their specific experience on, X. What's the project type, or what's the scope of work related to? But again, those is just an example of what some of the prompts can be. Maybe another prompt that we did use was, evaluate the proposer's methodology and how well it approaches. Sorry, their approach addresses the project objectives. Sorry, I am reading off screen of the prompts that we literally share with our evaluators, because I think that's going to be also a key important factor is we share those prompts with our evaluators saying, hey, obviously by first checking with our IT director and then making sure that they use it correctly. We said, hey, give me those 3-4 prompts that we could use. One of them, like I said, was review the proposer's methodology. How well is their approach address the project there's highlight strengths, risk, stuff like that that we used, and those were like the safe prompts. We typically told them to, use those and don't go in much detail about it, just because we don't want them. I think the popular word right now with AI is hallucinating any sort of like results that come out of it, right? So what we want to make sure is we keep it to those 3 to 5 prompts that are specific to that
Yeah.
project.
And Damien, maybe to quickly touch on the cost evaluation part where you all used the Civic Marketplace team and we came up with a AI safety report in terms of the cost evaluation. That used an AI that isn't in terms of the GPTs or the Claudes of the world. It's a closed RAG model that is focused on text-based matching and a scoring rubric that was able to give you those transparent scorings and wasn't, biased in any way. And that also may have helped you on the cost side. Do you want to talk a little bit about that one?
Yes, absolutely. So we did recently. It wasn't necessarily a request for proposals. We utilized Civic Marketplace and their option to get cooperative quotes. So whoever has a cooperative contract through Civic Marketplace, we were able to, request a quote. We obtained quotes from those vendors, and then Al was gracious enough to respond to my request to say, I want some help to evaluate this safely, right? So he leveraged the use of AI to evaluate all those proposals that came in. And again, it provided us a safe evaluation of those proposals. And, as important to note, as Al mentioned, is it was safe because it's matching to the text that he's providing it. It's not doing an outside research or the web search, to get information from that particular vendor. It's only looking at what you're feeding it. If you're getting it one file, it's looking at that file, which is important to know. And then you feel a little bit safer to know that that's going to be the end result. It's only looking at that particular file itself. And then, as mentioned, the scoring itself, it could be used as a guidance for you to have an idea as to who's on top of stuff. But to me, more importantly, it helped me come up with the actual questions or clarifications that I need from vendors.
Yeah.
I was not able to find, the scope of work requested XYZ, their proposal doesn't have XYZ. So it's looking at that clarification of, hey, I cannot see it or I cannot find it. Can you help me, clarify this?
That's wonderful. And it goes back to like one of my takeaways there is public-private partnership, as in where the city partnered with a private vendor, again, back to educate, not advocate, whichever vendor you'll choose is like to have the right expertise on utilizing that AI rather than in a way going it alone. And I think that's also an important perspective, but also with the right safeguards in terms of conversations. And I know that's a top of mind for Damien is the ethical use, the quality assurance, the compliance, the procurement guidelines to make sure that your policies and procedures are not flouted. So whenever you do engage with a vendor, we would very much, in a way, hopefully those tips can help. There's a few questions here. Is how much does an agency have to pay? How do you control this? And as Damien knows, the good thing about our model in Civic Marketplace, we are free to entities. We rely on the revenue stream similar to, and we are not a cooperative, although we rely a similar business model to cooperatives where there is a administrative fee that's charged to the suppliers of around 3%, sometimes less. And that's how we exist, but we are free for entities. And so hopefully that, Barbara Molfetta, answers your question as well as Rosso 047. Sue Rothwell, we recently had 3 different AIs given the same prompts review 20 RFI submissions. They were remarkably similar. That is a great call out. And that's exactly back to, as in making sure that you have the right expertise, the right partners, and using the right models with the right frameworks of RAG-based matching, not just using open up ChatGPT and uploading RFIs, because those models are prone not just to hallucinations, but to your point, as in not actually having even the credits to be able to do the workflows, and they may very well end up remarkably similar or roughing out. So hopefully that is helpful to that one. Usually co-ops, the selected vendor pays a percentage from the total to the co-op lead. That is exactly it. That's the revenue share with the City of Brownsville, where transparently as Civic Marketplace and our partnership, we do share, and the city has a generous revenue rebate back to it whenever it does award an RFP that's uploaded onto the system that's utilized by sister entities. We know that the hard work that you do, especially for numerous entities, sometimes folks are, as we are collaborative, copy and paste them from different sites. And so Civic Marketplace, what we hope to do is have that ecosystem which is trusted, where we're in a way promoting all your great work, and making sure that that public benefit also generates to benefit back to those entities, the lead ones. So that's how that piece works. How do vendors become associated with the service? We're an open platform, so we'll really guide any supplier to civicmarketplace.com to register their interest. We will keep them informed of solicitations or entities that we partner with in their region. And so hopefully when the time comes, we would hope to engage with them. And then finally, from Julian, Damien, have you noticed any suppliers tacking on the 3% admin fee to your quotes because they won't be the ones incurring the cost? And I have to say, as from experience, and maybe I'll hand over to you, but yes, we do see that, as in for us, suppliers on cooperative, as you know, contracts, etc. When they know about the cooperative fees, they do mark it up with that 3%. But that being said, with any channel of how a vendor thinks about it, if that's listed on a specific cooperative or not, they mark it up based on that BD cost. And as you all know, we think that that 3% or less is actually very, very competitive for them. And this is what suppliers tell us, is sometimes they have a willingness to actually pay more than that. But we're like, we want to be fair, we want to be transparent, and we want to be relatively low cost. But yes, that's one thing that we do see. Damon, do you want to speak to that?
No, I mean, I think that so far I have not seen any tacking on the 3% admin fee, as we're still rolling out this program to all the vendors. And I think the important part here is going to be that, at least with the first quote program, people that we deemed SBE certified, they're not going to have that admin fee, right? It's only going to be those that we deem that are not. So it's going to have that flexibility, at least for the municipalities, to be able to clearly labeled who are SBE for you all to make sure that you're compliant. And that's, again, that's for the first quote program. I think that Rosa followed up right now. That's the 30% that we're talking about. It's for the piggybackable. And that's for when you become a lead agency. It's not going to get charged to us. Those get charged to the other agencies that want to use our contracts. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, Al.
Yes, absolutely. And I know we're out for time, but would love to continue these conversations and at times debates as well. Would love to follow up with any folks, any questions. And we would be so excited to continue this conversation and journey with you all. I know we see you all as our community, and we're excited to serve with purpose.